This is Mac from JLPTBootcamp.com here with another N5 grammar lesson. This time we're talking about counters and time. Counters in Japanese and how to tell time and how to talk about amounts of time in Japanese. So to set the situation up, your friend that you're staying with in Japan, your Japanese friend, he wants to invite you out for some beers. So he asks, "Issho ni biru o nomu." Together, beer, object marking particle, nomu, do you want to drink? Do you want to drink some beer together? And you respond, nomitai demo hitotsu mondai ga arunda. So, nomitai, I want to drink, demo, but, hitotsu, one, mondai ga, problem, ga is the subject marking particle, and arun is it exists. There's one problem that exists. I have one problem. Your friend responds, nan no mondai. So nan no is what, and mondai is problem. So what problem do you have is implied there. You respond, ano okane ga nainda. So ano is your thinking. It's kind of like well in Japanese. Okane is money. Ga marks the subject. You're talking about money. And nine means that it doesn't exist. I don't have money to go drinking. And so you used a native Japanese number. Hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, these go all the way up to 10. And these are the native Japanese numbers that were used before the Chinese numbers kind of got introduced as counters. Actually, ichi, ni, san comes actually from China. It's not a native to Japan, which seems a little strange because usually you use ichi, ni, san. You think about the numbers in Japanese, but actually these are the native Japanese numbers, hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu. And they go, like I said, they go up to 10. I have all the details in the PDF. But we use these as generic counters. And you can use this as counter plus the optional no, plus object or a subject plus the verb. So this is usually to talk about a certain amount of things existing somewhere. So for example, sono isu ni wa, so futatsu no ashi ga arimasu. So the chair, specifically, ni wa, the wa is you're using that for some emphasis. Ni is talking about the place of these two legs on this chair. So futatsu is two, ashi is legs. So this chair, or that chair, or the chair, has two legs. This would probably be translated as the chair has two legs. I know sometimes sono is, you learn it as that, but it's a lot of times translated as the, because it kind of serves that purpose in Japanese, actually. And another pattern that you use with these particular native Japanese numbers is object-subject plus counter plus verb. For example, hako o mitsu kaimashita. I bought 3 boxes. So this is usually, talking about how many things you bought or drank or ate. You would use this particular structure. Again, these go up to 10. I have a complete list in the PDF. Check it out on the premium site for all those numbers, or of course you can just Google it for the top 10 numbers that you use for generic counters. Now, continuing on, your friend is still trying to invite you out. So you ask, you don't have any money. What do we do now? Do suru no. So what do we do is how you can translate that. Your friend responds, konbini de biru o nihon kao yo. So at the convenience store, beer, 2 bottles, I'll buy, is the literal translation. And you say arigato, thanks. And he is using the specific counters in Japanese. And now Japanese has hundreds of counters, probably. Counters for almost everything. But there's kind of these 8 main counters that you would use for most things. And these are the ones for the N5 that you'll need to know. First one is dai, counter for vehicles and machines, most often used for cars. These days it's used also for smartphones. How many smartphones did Sony sell last month or something? You would use dai. And hon, which yes does mean book, but it's actually a counter for long cylindrical objects, which can get kind of confusing because hon, the kanji, you use it for book. Hon is book. The way to remember this is, long time ago, books were actually scrolls, Chinese scrolls, so long cylindrical objects. And so that's why, I believe why this is now the counter for long cylindrical objects. Usually it's used for bottles of beer, pencils, pens, things like that. Very common objects, you would use hon. For people, you have nin. For 3 or more people, you would use nin, san nin, yon nin. But for 1 and 2 people, it's irregular. 1 person is hitori, 2 people is futari. So, and actually that hito kanji is actually pronounced ri, only for these 2 irregular words, I believe. So, one strange irregular thing about Japanese. Couple other counters. Mai is counter for sheets of things, usually paper. Hai is counter for cupfuls. For example, ippai nonda is, I drank 1 glassful. Hiki is a counter for small animals, cats, dogs, family pets, things like that. You would use hiki. Satsu is the counter for books. So that's the key one to remember. Satsu is for books, not hon. And for these counters, you, in a lot of cases, you just have the number plus the counter. However, there's lots of exceptions, especially for counters that start with H or F. They change depending on the counter that's in front of it. Also for ichi, hachi, and ju, there's usually a irregular pronunciation for those numbers, 1, 8, and 10 for a lot of the counters. The only number that doesn't change the counter is ni. You can always use ni without changing the counter after it. So ni dai, ni hon, ni nin, not ni nin, futari is 2 people, sorry. Ni mai, 2 sheets, ni hai, 2 cupfuls, ni hiki, 2 counter for small animals. There's sometimes you'll hear people pronounce things a little bit differently. It's a little irregular, sometimes with ni, but usually you can add ni in the counter and you're safe. The other thing too is, if in real life, if you forget the counter for something, you can always fall back on the generic counters. This is how, actually, a lot of times when I'm not sure of the particular counter, I'll just use, because it's usually easily understandable. It sounds a little strange, but you'll get your point across and you'll get whatever you want. If you're buying something at a store or whatever, you'll be able to use those counters and be understood. So at the very least, memorize the native Japanese numbers, hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, so forth and so on, up to the 10, because those you can always use. Continue on. You're still talking to your friend, and you're out drinking in front of the convenience store, and you want to know what day it is. So you ask, Kyou wa nan yobi? So kyo is today, wa is topic marking particle. Non-yobi, nan is what, yobi is day of the week. So non-yobi is what day of the week is it? Is not there in Japanese, but that's how it would be translated. Your friend responds, ano itsuka no kayobi. So ano, again, he's thinking. Itsuka is the 5th day of the month. Kayobi is Tuesday. So take note of this. In English, we usually say day of the week plus day of the month. So it's Monday the 6th. But in Japanese, it's the opposite. You would say, 5th Tuesday in this particular case. So you flip the order. And so he's talking about days of the week. And each day of the week is kind of like a natural element. So Monday is Getsuyobi, moon day. Tuesday is Kayobi, fire day. Wednesday is Suyobi, water day. Thursday is Mokuyobi, which is wood day. Friday is Kinyobi, which makes sense. That's usually payday. Kin is gold. Saturday, Doyobi. Do is dirt or earth. And Sunday is, you get a freebie there, Nichiyobi. So Nichi is sun. So it's kind of a direct translation. Saturday to is Nichiyobi. Now for days of the month, these can be quite confusing. They are kind of roughly based on the native Japanese numbers, which can kind of help you remember them a little bit, but they're not really closely related. Usually they have the first sound of the native Japanese numbers, but they're not identical to the Japanese numbers. So for the first, you have Tsuitachi, second, Futsuka, third, Mikka, fourth, Yokka, fifth, Itsuka, sixth, Muika, seventh, Nanoka, eighth, Yoka, ninth, Kokonoka, and 10th, Toka. So pay attention here. Fourth and eighth, fourth is Yokka and eighth is Yoka. So it's a difference in the vowel sound, which can be quite difficult to master at first, especially at the N5 level, trying to tell the small differences between these vowel sounds, which in English are not important. Are really important in Japanese, how long a vowel sound is held for, if there's a pause with the double consonant like a yoka, there's a stop there. These are really important things with pronunciation and for your listening, especially at the N5 level. They will probably really kind of pick at you for these small little differences between these two. So be sure to practice them, be sure to speak them out loud, and use them as much as possible so you can get kind of comfortable with them. Now, for days of the month after 10, you essentially just take the number plus Nichi, that'll give you your day. So for example, Juichi is 11, Juichi Nichi is the 11th of a particular month. So for example, Watashi no party wa 21 nichi desu. My party is on the 21st of the month. There are exceptions to this rule, though. For the 14th, you have Juyoka. For the 20th, you have Hatsuka. For the 24th, you have Nijuyoka. So just keep in mind, I guess it's the fourths. You need to think of Yoka. And just for the 20th, you have Hatsuka. Now, you might be wondering about the kanji versus Roman letters. At N5 level, you learn the kanji for each of the different numbers. And so you might be thinking that all of the numbers are written in kanji, but they actually aren't in Japan that often. In formal situations, you'll see it in kanji. Or at, for example, like a traditional restaurant, like an udon shop or a soba shop or izakaya that wants to kind of appeal to a Japanese sense, will use kanji for the prices. Or a fancy omiyage store, souvenir shop, will use these for prices. But most of the places you'll go to will use the Roman letter numbers that you're used to. So don't be surprised that you don't really see the kanji for the numbers being used, if you come to Japan. Now, continuing on with the conversation, you've been drinking for a while, and so you ask, Nanji kara nomu no? So from when did we drink? So when did we start drinking? It's a little bit more natural translation. Your friend answers hachigoro, so around 8 o'clock. And you respond honto, which is really? And so here we're telling time in Japanese. For this, we'd use jihan for half, and bun for minutes, goro for about, for specific times. So rokuji is 6 o'clock. Rokuji han is 6:30. Take note there that han is after ji. So not before, not roku han ji, but rokuji han. And if you want to talk about the minutes, you would say rokuji sanju pun. 6:30. About 6 o'clock, you would use the goro extension. So, for example, we can say goji goro ie o demasu. I'm going to leave the house around 5 o'clock. So continuing on, to finish this off, sorry for this being a really long lesson, but to finish it off, you ask your friend, dono gurai made nondeiru no? So about how long have we been drinking? And your friend responds, 3時間半まで. So for about 3.5 hours. And you ask, shuden wa itsu? And shuden here means last train. So in Japan, around midnight, trains stop. So if you don't get on that train by around midnight, whenever the last train is, you're stuck wherever you are, which can be a big problem. You might have to end up, passing out at an internet cafe or going to some fast food place to take a nap. So it's very important to know shuden. When's the last train? I need to catch that last train to get to my hotel or to my place, wherever I live. Your friend responds, Sokka, ato 10 分. So he's like, oh yeah. Sokka's, yeah. And ato is after, 10 分, 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, that's the last train. In 10 minutes, that's the last train. We got to catch that train. So this is talking about periods of time. Now notice here we say jikan and bun. So bun and gurai. We don't put bun kan. That's not part of the for to make things really confusing. Bun is the counter for periods of time and also for telling specific points of time. So you use both. You don't have to add kan. But you do have to add it to ji. So rokuji kan, 6 hours. Rokuji kan han for 6.5 hours. Rokuji kan 30 分 for 6 hours 30 minutes. And rokuji kan gurai is about 6 hours. So take note, gurai is for amounts of things, amounts of time. This can also be used for size and other amounts of things. Goro is only used for time, talking about the specific time of the day. So talking about 6 o'clock or whatnot. But gurai can be used for other amounts of things. And so, for example, we have hachiji kan nemashita. I slept for 8 hours. So that is a lot of stuff to go over. Let's take a quick pop quiz here. Can you translate this into Japanese? I teach one class, and you don't have to translate I. The I is implied in the situation. Can you say that in Japanese? In Japanese, that would be kurasu o hitotsu oshiemasu. So kurasu is class. O is the object marking particle. Hitotsu is one. Oshiemasu is to teach. So I teach one class. Now, how about I have 3 pencils? And just a quick reminder, pencils in Japanese is enpitsu. I have 3 pencils. So in Japanese, that would be enpitsu wa 3本 arimasu. Again, this is that kind of different structure. You could put 3本 in front of enpitsu to talk about the amount of things that you have. You could actually also put no there, 3本 no, enpitsu wa arimasu. That is also grammatically correct. You could put it in those 2 different places. So keep that in mind. For example, in the sentence scrambled sections, they might kind of trick you with that because it can be in both places. How about this one? It's the first of the month. It's the first of the month. Pretty easy one here. That in Japanese would be tsuitachi desu. That's, I think, the hardest one to remember, at least for me. The first of the month, tsuitachi, because it's not really related to anything. All the other things start with hitori, or hitotsu, but for some reason the first of the month is tsuitachi. Anyway, next one, I'm meeting Mr. Tanaka around 3. I'm meeting Mr. Tanaka around 3. Again, this is a specific point of time, 3 o'clock. So that in Japanese would be Sanji goro Tanaka-san ni aimasu. And so, yeah, Sanji goro is around 3 o'clock. Tanaka-san, Mr. Tanaka, ni, you have to use this with aimasu. For meeting someone, you use the ni particle. Actually, you don't use o, because it's kind of like you're traveling towards that person to meet them. Last one, the bus takes about 2 hours. That in Japanese would be basu de wa 2 jikan gurai o kakarimasu. So, day is marking the way of traveling. Wa is the topic, like comparing it to other things. As for the bus, compared to walking, that's the contrastive wa that we can use here. And 2 jikan gurai, 2 jikan is 2 hours, gurai is about, and o is marking as the object kakarimasu. Kakarimasu means to take, so it's taking this time. That's why we use the o object marking particle here. So to finish it all off, let's go through a huge review of everything we went over. Hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, these are native Japanese counters, native Japanese numbers, sorry. They're used as generic counters though in Japanese. There's a couple different counters in Japanese. Dai for vehicles, machines. Nin for people, except for, of course, hitari and futari, 1 and 2 people. Satsu is the counter for books. Hon is the counter for long cylindrical objects. Way to remember that is old books were scrolls, so they were long cylindrical objects. Mai is the counter for sheets of things. Hai is counter for cupfuls. And then days of the week, we've got Getsuyobi, Kaiyobi, Suyobi, Mokuyobi, Kinyobi, Doyobi, and Nichiyobi. That's Monday through Sunday. Days of the month, Tsuitachi, Futsuka, Mika, Yoka, Itsuka, Muika, Nanoka, Yoka, Kokonoka, Toka. For 1 through 10. After 10, you've just got the number plus Nichi. So Juichi plus Nichi, for example, is the 11th, 14th, 20th, and 24th. You've got exceptions. 14th is Juyoka. 20th is Hatsuka. 24th is Nijuyoka. Just try to remember it's the 4s and 20 for some strange reason are the exceptions for counting the months. And for using the kanji for numbers, you use the kanji for formal situations, or if they're trying to give off a feeling of Japanese traditional food or restaurant or something, you would use the kanji. But usually you use the Roman numbers that you're used to, 1, 2, 3, 4, that you're used to seeing. And telling time in Japanese, ji han, bun, and goro. Rokuji, 6 o'clock. Rokuji han, 6:30. Rokuji goro is about 6 o'clock. Remember, goro can only be used for telling time of the day. You can't use it for other things like amounts of or weights or sizes of things. You have to use gurai, which is what we use to talk about periods of time. Here you have to add the kan for hours. Rokuji kan is 6 hours, not 6 o'clock. Rokuji kan han, 6.5 hours. And then Rokuji kan gurai is about 6 hours. And that is it. That is a lot of content. This is I think the longest lesson I've had. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Hope this was incredibly useful for you. Counters is one of the biggest, most difficult hurdles for N5, getting used to these numbers. So just try to use them when you're out and about. Try to count things. Get used to the pronunciations. Get used to the days of the month. Every day, try to say what day of the month it is, and try to really internalize these things, because you do use these in daily conversation once you start using the language and you become quite fluent. And you really want to be comfortable and automatic with these things. So that's it. If you think, if you know someone that is starting to study Japanese, is studying for the N5, they probably will find this video helpful. Go ahead and send them a link to it and help them out and help them get the higher score on the test. And stay tuned for more N5 grammar lessons. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. This has been a grammar explanation video from the JLPT Bootcamp Premium site. Inside the site, you will find some extra goodies, for example, some cheat sheets for all of the videos. And those cheat sheets include a few things. For example, some common mistakes that people make, as well as some example test questions for the JLPT. If you're interested in taking the JLPT and you want that extra edge, something to kind of push you above and get the points that you need to pass, I encourage you to stop by the website at jlptbootcamp.com/premium. There you can find the cheat sheets as well as some extra practice with the grammar points that I've been talking about today. Hope to see you in the premium site very soon. This has been Mac from jlptbootcamp.com.